Millions of dead and illegal voters discovered in key swing states by Sean for yournewswire.com. Millions of deceased and illegal voters have been discovered by the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, in an investigation the Democrats are desperately trying to cover up. Pew Research suggests that 1.8 million registered voters were found to be deceased. A further 24 million had invalid voter registrations, and 2.75 million people illegally registered in more than one state. What does that tell you, right? ConservativeDailyPost.com reports while underage voting is a problem with 292 minors voting during the 2016 general election, the dead people casting ballots is more concerning. The Presidential Commission uncovered 45,880 voters who cast ballots in the 2016 presidential election who were more than 115 years old, many of whom were born before 1700. These numbers are vastly underreported because of the Commission's inability to get states under a Democratic stronghold to comply with voter information requests. Do you see? It's the Democrats. People, if you're a Democrat and you're listening to this, take heed which party you're voting for. Let's take a quick listen here.
Well, what's happened is basically the investigation is moving forward more efficiently and faster now. So if anyone on the left thinks they've won and thinks that voter fraud won't be investigated, which was their objective, they're sadly mistaken. All that's happened is they've lost their seat at the table. The Federal Advisory Commission was a bipartisan commission to hold all of the investigations in open meetings and allow Democrats and every organization that wanted to come forward a seat at the table. And now, because they've thrown their food in the air, they've lost their seat at the table, and an executive branch agency, the Department of Homeland Security, is going to take on the investigation, and it's going to move a lot faster. So Democrats should hesitate before doing a victory lap because they just lost their ability to participate in the investigation. The notion that the commission was going to cause voter suppression was idiotic from the get-go. The idea that just by studying the problem of voter fraud, that would somehow do a Jedi mind trick and cause state legislators across America to adopt various voting laws is simply stupid. But that was the only argument they could come up with. The bottom line is Democrats don't want to look into the problem of voter fraud. And that is a shocking situation in a republic where one party doesn't want to know, is willfully blinding itself to the problem of voter fraud.
They're willfully doing it because that's the only way they're going to win the election. In many states, the voter fraud is so rampant, they have more people on their voter rolls than actually eligible voters in the state. Alaska, California, Colorado, Washington, D.C., Indiana, Kentucky, Maine, and Michigan all had more voters on the roll than eligible citizens, considering not everyone eligible to vote registers, right? That's true. This indicates an enormous amount of fraud being perpetrated in an effort to rig elections. Now, there's a surprise, right? Non-citizen voting in our election is also a rampant issue. Virginia is not a hotbed for immigrants, illegal or otherwise, and it still saw 7,474 non-citizens cast ballots in the state because Virginia is a swing state. It is especially important that their election results are not tampered with by foreign nationals in our country trying to rig elections. California did not comply with the Presidential Commission, right? Why wouldn't California comply, right? Had they done so, it is likely the number of non-citizen voting in the Golden State would have been of astronomical proportions. The commission also found that over 45,000 people voting in 2016's presidential election cast ballots in multiple districts, voting multiple times. People are district hoping to multiply their votes, and the Democrats are unconcerned with the impact of this unscrupulous behavior and have blocked all attempts to purge the roles of these bad actors. Yeah, because the Democrats are the ones that are doing this. Illegal alien voted 5 times, caught red-handed, Mexican citizen said.
An illegal immigrant caught voting 5 times in the U.S., sentenced to 8 years in prison, and will later be deported. A Texas jury sealing Rosa Ortega's fate after she blatantly registered to vote in multiple cities, even after checking the box on her driver's license that she was not a citizen. Pete Hexon finds this hilarious. Her lawyers calling her punishment harsh, blaming President Trump's crackdown on illegals.
Voting 5 times.
All right.
And there you have it, of course. Trump is for us. He's not for them ruining our system. Democrats often fight voter identification laws, right? Which would force citizens to provide ID before casting ballots in our election. President Trump finds the policy of allowing people with no ID to vote to be absurd, stating in a tweet, "As Americans, you need identification, sometimes in a very strong and accurate form, for almost everything you do." Absolutely. Except when it comes to the most important thing, voting for the people that run your country. Push hard for voter identification. Absolutely. Democrats are fighting to keep the voting system in America virtually unregulated, while the evidence is clear that millions of ineligible voters are capable of casting ballots each year in our elections. Democrats have no interest in correcting this. They are protecting their illegal immigrant voters, their non-citizen voters, their dead voters, and their ineligible voters because they help keep the scales tilted in their favor. For Democrats, winning elections is the most important thing, and if that means condoning, encouraging, and protecting criminals, so be it. With DHS taking over the investigation, election officials will be subject to prosecution, and will illegal voters. Democrats will also be unable to obstruct their efforts by filing frivolous lawsuits and blocking the release of crucial information requested. The law enforcement agency will have far more latitude on how it pursues the case moving forward, with far more resources and reach than the Presidential Commission had. Democrats claim that voter fraud accusations are unfounded. Of course that they're unfounded. Despite the mountains of evidence to the contrary, a thorough investigation into voter fraud will be carried out by DHS, and the true impact of this epidemic will become clearer the deeper the department digs. The Democrats stand to lose big if voter ID laws are implemented and their dead and ineligible voters become purged. So expect them to fight this investigation to the bitter end. You see where we're going? If they dig deeper and see, oh, let's see who all these illegals and dead people voted for. Could it possibly be Democrat? They voted Democrat? And this one, did you see when she was going 8 years in, right? They blamed it on Trump right here. Right here.
Her lawyers calling her punishment harsh, blaming President Trump's crackdown on illegals.
8 years, but they call it harsh because of Trump. You see what I'm saying? Again, because of Trump? That's against the law. You are going to jail for this kind of a fraud. Yes. You take away from the citizens, you take away their vote by voting so many times. They said she voted 5 times. I can bet you any amount of money that she voted 50 times, not 5 times. They caught her on 5. She voted 50 times. And let's take another look. How about in Alabama? Why don't we check out Alabama to see what went on? Did you see what I'm saying? Doug Jones won Alabama. I mean, are you kidding me? So now the people have to suffer with Doug Jones in office. That Jones would have lost, hands down, he would have lost. You see? This is disgraceful in America. But again, the corruption stems back years, decades actually. The corruption of the Democratic Party, right? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.